Alright, howdy peoples and extras. There's something we need to talk about Legends once again. Because in case you missed it, they dropped patch 47.1 several days ago that addressed some of the issues I talked about in the last extras that I brought up. Again, don't mind the random blast pops in the background, we're just gonna have that playing. But overall changes, just as a quick refresher. One of the biggest things being the balloon encounter changes. Basically, the amount of rounds starting from the first encounter is decreased from 10 to 6. So that means every subsequent round, or every encounter, has 4 less rounds overall, which is great and all. However, they increase the amount of encounters, or the starting encounter and the ending encounter, by 1. So it's 4 less rounds all the way, but they scale up much faster. They fixed balloon areas, which is nice, but going back to that red balloon encounter thing, because in their patch notes they mentioned that on average you would see about 30% less rounds, like playing 30% less red balloon encounter rounds, which is probably accurate and all. However, if you just take a second to think about it, it took me like 3 seconds, this amount of rounds cut off is negated by the fact that because you scale much faster and you're playing much harder rounds that will probably take longer to pop balloons, you're definitely not going to be saving 30% more time. So I don't know if that was intended by Ninja to do that, or rather portray it as if you're saving 30% like time when it's actually not, or they just thought that would be a quick band-aid fix, which is, I would say, okay for a band-aid fix, but honestly, I think it would have been fine if they just reduced the amount of like rounds by 4 overall instead of touching the scaling, because that actually changed a lot of things. And I would say like for the worse, not just for experienced players, but also beginners, because think about this. I think before the update, it was like round 1 to 10 on the very first stage of the first balloon encounter. Now it's 2 to 6, and then etc, etc. And then usually by the end, after, let's say, 10 balloon encounter stage 1, before the update, you'd end up, like, the ending round would be, like, I don't know, around 30. But now, it's closer to around 40. And that's bad for the casual players, because I'm pretty sure I've saw a lot of complaints from casual players playing that stage 1 was really hard, and they had an issue with the difficulty of it. And this doesn't actually solve that issue, because it makes it worse, because now they have to deal with the hard rounds even earlier. So if they happen to do what I did initially and like take the long path, because on paper it sounds like it's best to do that instead of skipping a bunch of artifacts, but that, like, taking the long route now is even harder, because round scaling up earlier means somehow you gotta deal with like bads on stage 1 if you truly take the longest path. Like, does that make sense? Basically, this change has made it so that taking the long route is even worse than before. And I already thought it was like, it already feel really bad to take a long route. And that's my biggest concern about that change. I hope it really just is a band-aid fix and they have more coming, either in 47.2 or 48. Like, for one, it's good that they have addressed the changes really quickly, as in the span of 1 week. However, again, I do think the changes very clearly looked like a band-aid fix, or rather something that didn't really have too much thought put into about how it would affect everybody involved. And that is not to mention too the absolute amount of lag that is in this update. Apparently, it's due to one artifact, Unspoken Heroes, and it's really bad if you happen to have that with Dreadboon Relic and have all your towers with projectiles. It really moves your game to standstill. Like, even lag aside though, I obviously don't have the math in front of me, but again, it's definitely not 30% time save because of 30% less rounds. I still believe there's a chance that you do save time, especially, you know, during the early stage rounds, not counting lag into the equation. So yeah, again, things will feel much better once they address those memory leak / lag issues. That's all I have to say about that topic. Now I want to address some things that I didn't address the first time around, or rather, it didn't go enough into detail, and I think I should mention again. For one, the every 3 rounds pop up after it, you know, within an encounter, that makes the slog a little bit worse, especially if your red balloon encounters are trivial like mine, where you just want to like AFK and get to the end faster, but instead you can't AFK because you have to click the pop-up every 3 rounds. I would love if they had a toggle to like either auto. I heard someone say auto pick the rarest artifact or rarest boost in there. Although I don't know how they pick that for instas, but anything like that, or how even just a skip button. Choose no boost to just like skip earlier. All that to say is that stuff like that would increase the quality of life while playing the game, which is nice and all. Now, I may or may not have already touched on this one previously, but Chimps mode. So I've currently already played a good amount of stages in Chimps mode, only to realize that the restrictions that they have in Chimps mode don't make it that much harder to play than normal. Maybe that's because I have, like, you know, 1 extra run of experience, but even then, I'd like some changes done where they make Chimps actually the hard mode compared to normal. Like, right now, I've seen a lot of, I guess, streamers pick up the game again, playing Rogue, which is cool to see, because I feel like it's been years since, like, any outsider creators, YouTubers, or streamers have even played this game, so Rogue is a good way, or it's nice to see that Rogue gets some people back into it, which is why it's important that launches aren't effed up, because, you know, if Rogue is, like, better 4 months from now, but it's complete crap now, then those big creators probably won't get to playing it. I don't know, but, like, seeing as they all picked it up, you know, the moment it got released, then that definitely means, you know, the launch should matter at least a little bit. Okay, that was a bit of a tangent, but it was all to say that, I think the normal campaign, I think it could be made easier, while the Chimps can be made for hardcore. So I don't know if you guys know, actually, I think NinjaKiwi said on air that Legends was supposed to be like for veteran players. That was their initial plan for them, according to what they said. So it was never supposed to be beginner friendly, but I guess seeing all the popularity around it now, they may lean towards it being more beginner friendly, and I agree with that take. So that's why, again, nerfing Bluenaries was good. I do think they should have kept the elite Bluenaries in Chimps mode, because I'm not feeling much of the hardness in Chimps. It's not hard enough for me. Granted, might be a bit, you know, not representative of the average player. But I feel like there's so many things they could do with Chimps mode. Like, for one, they blacklisted new maps in this update, which I assume also applies to Chimps. Maybe they don't have the technology yet to, you know, have separate map pools for those game modes. Probably something they can do in a later update. But, like, yeah, they got rid of Ravine and all that for final stages. But I'd love if they kept that in Chimps, because, again, Chimps is for the hardcore, so even people complain about it, or rather, the people complaining about it would be those who are good enough to beat the campaign in the first place. So I don't think complaints about difficulty there should be too bad as compared to the normal campaign, where I feel like a lot of casuals are picking it up. And not just like the map bans, but just the maps in general. I'm still getting freaking easy maps on final end stage bosses on stage 5 of Chimps. Like, come on. I really feel like it could have ramped up much quicker in Chimps. Like, wouldn't it be so cool if at some point we only got like the hardest extra maps at, let's say, stage 10 plus of Chimps? That would really make it feel tough, because I've heard a lot of people, I haven't gone there yet, but I've heard a lot of people have already gone to like stage 15, 20, and they're just still cakewalking through it all because they're getting easy as frick maps. But yeah, again, additionally to that, like, actually banning income would make things a bit more interesting. Granted, I haven't really felt the use of income in my Chimps run so far, but maybe it'll matter later on. But yeah, that's, I think I've said enough about Chimps mode needs to be harder. Let's say they do that, and if they, again, make the campaign just a little bit easier. And definitely find a way to address the long red balloon encounter issue, which, again, I think would have been fixed easily just by them not fixing the scaling, or them not touching the scaling at all. Okay, I already talked about that point. There's only one more that I really want to talk about, and that's about replayability. They did say Rogue Legends should have a hell of a lot of replayability, but I'm not gonna lie, after only my second run in Chimps mode, I feel like there's not that much compared to what they hoped there should be. Because, let's get a pair of Goon, by the way, to Goon all over Blast. But I thought on paper, a lot of the replayability felt like it would be because of the fact that your hero loadout is different from the start, and you're starting artifacts, so there's like 44 different ways you can start off your game. Unfortunately, they all converge to the same damn thing, because of the way it is. Like, because of heroes not mattering too much, although they did fork the amount of starting hero XP, which is good in this update. Good change. It's just, yeah, even with that, I feel like there's, the strategy still ends up converging a lot of the time, and the heroes still don't end up being very useful. Like, how useful is a level 20 hero when, say, a 013 druid defeats a bad solo? Because heroes, again, don't have an artifact buff, which I think, aside from the XP, the commission XP, but they don't, there's no artifact in the game that, like, buffs heroes, at least I don't think. It would be nice if they had one so that we could see a supercharged, I don't know, a door or something like that. Maybe not having level 20 heroes was good enough, but I don't know. I personally would like to see that. Because right now, I feel like the only way to replay the game, Rogue Legends more, is doing specific challenge runs. Like, after I guess I am bored of Endless Chimps mode. I'm not sure what I want to do. In fact, I kind of want to ask for challenge suggestions. I was going to do that. Or rather, I was supposed to ask that on the main, but I'll ask here as well, because, yeah, why not? You guys are main watchers too, I would assume. Any extras viewers and extras only here? That would be kind of crazy if someone didn't care about the main channel, but only watched extras. No way someone would be like that, right? X'd out. But yeah, what kind of challenge runs do you want to see? I guess the only issue is that a lot of people have complaints that, like, the overall campaign is way too long. Again, I'm someone who doesn't play roguelikes. I didn't really feel it too much, or I didn't mind too much that my first one took 10 hours. Although, for content, yeah, it's kind of bad, because now I have to split it up into several parts. Unless I want to make, like, a 2-hour video in one, but yeah, that's not what I would prefer to do. But there are some ideas in mind that I have, despite the length of current campaigns. But again, if you have some, then do let me know. And once again, overall, I still think Rogue is in a better spot after 47.1. Don't get me twisted on that. Even despite me, maybe the clickbait thumbnail. I don't know what the thumbnail's gonna be, but if it's what I'm thinking, then it's not fully clickbait, but it's a little bit. Anyway, that's all. Once again, Rogue is great. I would still recommend it, because it still gives you several, I'd say, dozen hours of fun. But it depends on your definition of fun. And don't get all the negative, you know, complaints about Twisted. It's just because, you know, I want the game mode to succeed, and I'm having fun with it. But there's some ways that we could have more, or I would have more fun if, you know, settings were fixed. Okay, I've yapped too much. I'm tired. Good night, everybody. Subscribe.